Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the bridge of the Starbound and watched the stars through the main screen. Her ship had been exploring space for 3 months now. The mission was simple: find new worlds and make contact with alien life. So far, they had found empty planets and dead rocks floating in space. "Captain, we are getting a signal," said Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez from her station. Amy was the science officer and one of the smartest people Lisa knew. Her dark hair was pulled back, and her eyes were focused on the computer screen in front of her. "What kind of signal?" Lisa asked as she walked over to Amy's station. "It's a distress call. Very weak, but definitely artificial. The source is about 2 days away at maximum speed," Amy replied, while typing commands into her computer. Lisa looked at the data on the screen. The signal was coming from a star system that was not on any of their maps. "Can you tell what kind of ship is sending it?" Amy shook her head. "The signal is too weak, but Captain, there's something strange about it. The frequency patterns don't match any human technology I know." Lisa felt her heart beat faster. This could be it. First contact with an alien species. She had dreamed of this moment since joining the Space Service 10 years ago. "Set course for the signal source. Maximum speed." The next 2 days passed slowly. Lisa could barely sleep as she thought about what they might find. Amy worked around the clock trying to decode more of the signal. On the morning of the 3rd day, they arrived at the source. "Captain, you need to see this," Amy said with excitement in her voice. Lisa rushed to the bridge and looked at the main screen. Before them was a beautiful green and blue planet covered in forests and oceans. But something was wrong. Large, dark patches covered parts of the surface like a disease spreading across the world. "Life signs?" Lisa asked. "Positive, but they're very weak. The planet should be full of life based on its size and atmosphere, but I'm only reading about 10,000 life forms. That's far too low," Amy explained. "Take us into orbit. Full scans of the planet." As the Starbound moved closer, they could see the dark patches more clearly. They looked like areas where all life had simply died. Trees were black and lifeless. Rivers had dried up. Even from space, they could tell something terrible was happening to this world. "Captain, I'm receiving a communication," the communications officer called out. "Put it on screen." The main screen flickered, and then showed the most beautiful woman Lisa had ever seen. She had long silver hair that seemed to glow with its own light. Her ears were pointed like in old Earth stories about elves. Her eyes were a deep green color, but filled with sadness. "I am High Counselor Lyra Leigh Moonwhisper of the Elven Collective," the woman said in perfect English. "You have answered our distress call. We did not expect to find humans so far from your homeworld." Lisa stepped forward. "I am Captain Lisa Morgan of the human ship Starbound. We received your signal and came to help. What is happening to your world?" Lyra Leigh's expression became even sadder. "Our world is dying, Captain Morgan. A plague has taken hold of our planet. It drains the life from everything it touches. Our forests are becoming wastelands. Our people are dying. We have tried everything we know, but nothing works." "How long has this been happening?" Amy asked. 3 of your years," Lyra Leigh replied. "When it started, we had 5 million people living on Ilaria. Now we have less than 10,000. If this continues, we will all be dead within 1 year." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. An entire civilization was dying, and they were asking for help. "We want to help you, Counselor Moonwhisper. Can we send a team to your planet to study this plague?" Lyra Leigh hesitated. "Captain Morgan, my people have lived on this world for over 50,000 years. We have always been alone. We have never trusted outsiders. Many of my people believe that accepting help from humans would be shameful." "But you sent the distress call," Lisa pointed out. "Yes, because I would rather have my people live with shame than watch them all die with pride," Lyra Leigh said firmly. Amy stepped forward. "Counselor, I'm a scientist. If we can study this plague, maybe we can find a way to stop it. We're not asking for anything in return. We just want to help." Lyra Leigh looked at Amy for a long moment. "You would help us even though we can give you nothing in return." "That's what humans do," Lisa said simply. "We help because it's right, not because we expect something back." For the first time, Lyra Leigh smiled slightly. "Perhaps there is hope." After all, you may send your team to our capital city, but be warned, Captain, the plague affects all living things. Your people will be in danger. We understand the risk, Lisa replied. Amy, get a team ready, full environmental suits and all. Our best scanning equipment. As Amy left to prepare the away team, Lisa looked back at Lyreley on the screen. We're going to save your people, Counselor. I promise you that. Lyreley's green eyes filled with tears. Captain Morgan, you are either very brave or very foolish, but you may be the answer to our prayers. The screen went dark, and Lisa stared out at the dying planet below. She had no idea how they would stop a plague that had defeated an advanced alien civilization, but she knew they had to try. The Starbound had come here looking for new life, and instead they had found a people facing extinction. Lisa would not let that happen, not while she had breath in her body and a ship under her command. Amy Rodriguez stepped off the shuttle and onto the surface of Ilaria. Even through her environmental suit, she could feel that something was wrong with this world. The air felt heavy and lifeless. The trees around the landing pad were tall and beautiful, but many of their leaves were turning black at the edges. The readings are getting worse, said Dr. Nina Clark, the team's biologist. She was scanning the area with a handheld device. The life energy levels are dropping even as we watch. Amy looked around at the elven city before them. It was unlike anything she had ever seen. The buildings seemed to grow from the trees themselves, with walls made of living wood and roofs covered in flowers. But like everything else on this world, the city was dying. Many buildings stood empty, and the streets that should have been full of people were nearly deserted. A young elf woman approached them. She was shorter than Counselor Lyreley and had brown hair instead of silver. Her pointed ears were adorned with small crystals that caught the light. Welcome to Silverleaf City, she said with a slight bow. I am Scholar Aria Silverleaf. I will be your guide and translator. Thank you, Amy replied. I'm Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez, and this is Dr. Nina Clark. We're here to study the plague affecting your world. Aria's face brightened slightly. You really think you can help us? Many of my people believe it is hopeless. They say we should accept our fate with dignity. We never give up, Nina said firmly. That's not the human way. As they walked through the city, Aria explained what had happened. The plague started in the deep forests 3 years ago. At first we thought it was just a natural disease, but as it spread, we realized it was something much worse. It doesn't just kill plants and animals. It drains away their life force completely, leaving nothing behind but empty shells. Amy took readings as they walked. The energy patterns were unlike anything in human science books. Have you found the source of the plague? We believe it comes from deep underground, Aria replied. Our best scholars think there is something buried in the planet's core that is causing this, but we cannot dig that deep, and our magic cannot reach it. They arrived at a large building that looked like a library mixed with a laboratory. Inside, elderly elves worked at tables covered with books and strange instruments. The head scholar, an ancient elf named Elder Thalion, greeted them with suspicion. So the humans think they can solve in days what we have failed to solve in years, he said coldly. We're not here to replace your efforts, Amy said respectfully. We want to work with you. Different species might see the problem in different ways. Elder Thalion studied her for a moment, then nodded slowly. Very well. But do not expect miracles. For the next several days, Amy and Nina worked alongside the elven scholars. They shared human scientific methods while learning about elven magic and technology. Slowly, a picture began to form. The plague was not natural. It was artificial, created by something that was definitely not elven. Meanwhile, far away in human space, Captain Kate Sullivan was dealing with her own crisis. Her medical ship, the Mercy's Call, had just received an emergency message from Earth Command. Captain, we have refugees approaching our sector, her communications officer reported. Their ship is badly damaged and they're requesting immediate assistance. Kate looked at the main screen and saw a strange vessel unlike any human design. It was long and curved like a bird's wing, but parts of it were clearly broken. Burn marks covered its hull, and it was leaking atmosphere. "This is Captain Kate Sullivan of the human medical vessel Mercy's Call," she broadcast. "We're here to help. What do you need?" The reply came in broken English with a strange accent. "This is Commander Zara Vex of the Zephyrian refugee ship Void Dancer. Our ship is dying. Our people are dying. Please help us." Kate didn't hesitate. "Dock with our ship immediately. We'll take your people aboard." Captain, her security chief, warned, "We don't know anything about these aliens. They could be dangerous." "They're refugees asking for help," Kate replied firmly. "We're going to help them." The docking process was difficult because the alien ship was so badly damaged. When the airlock finally opened, Kate got her first look at the Zephyrians. They were tall and thin, with blue-gray skin and large, dark eyes. Their hair was white and seemed to move in the air like it was underwater. Many of them were clearly sick and weak. Commander Zara Vex was the first to come aboard. Despite her exhaustion, she stood proud and straight. "Captain Sullivan, I thank you for your kindness. We have nowhere else to go. What happened to your people?" Kate asked as her medical team began treating the refugees. "Our homeworld was destroyed," Zara explained, her voice filled with pain. "A great evil came from the darkness between stars. It drained our world of all life, just as it had done to many worlds before ours. We are all that remains of our people." Dr. Nina Clark, who had returned from Ilaria to help with the refugees, overheard this conversation. Her eyes went wide. "Commander Vex, did this evil leave behind artifacts? Ancient machines buried deep in the planet?" Zara stared at her in shock. "How could you know this?" "Yes, we found such artifacts in our world's core, but by then it was too late." Nina grabbed her communicator. "Amy, you need to hear this." Within hours, a communication link was established between the Mercy's Call and the team on Ilaria. Amy, Nina, and the Elven scholars listened as Zara told them about her people's history. "We called them the Harvesters," Zara explained. "They have been moving through the galaxy for millions of years, placing their seed machines on worlds rich with life. When the machines activate, they drain all life energy and send it back to their masters." Elder Thalian's face went pale. "Then our world is doomed. If these harvesters are as powerful as you say, there is no hope." "There's always hope," Amy said strongly. "Commander Vex, your people survived. You must know something that can help us." Zara looked at the young human with surprise. "You would fight the harvesters, even knowing what they are capable of?" "We fight because we know what they're capable of," Kate said from the Mercy's Call. "We can't let them destroy more worlds." A young Zephyrian engineer named Kira Starweaver stepped forward. She had been quiet until now, but her eyes were bright with intelligence. "There might be a way," she said softly. "The ancient texts speak of a weapon that can destroy harvester machines, but it would require the combined knowledge of many species to build." Arya Silverleaf looked excited. "Our magic could power such a weapon if we knew how to build it. And human technology could provide the framework," Amy added. For the first time in months, Zara smiled. "Perhaps the harvesters made a mistake when they forced our peoples together. Alone, we were helpless. But together, we might have a chance." Elder Thalian stood up slowly. "I have lived for 800 years, and I have never seen three species work together like this. Perhaps there is hope after all." Admiral Megan Hayes stood in the command center of Earth's orbital defense station and watched the long-range sensors with growing alarm. Dark shapes were appearing at the edge of the solar system, moving toward Earth at incredible speed. "How many ships are we looking at?" she asked her tactical officer, Commander Jane Foster. "At least 200 confirmed, Admiral." "Possibly more hiding behind sensor shadows," Jane replied, her voice tense. "They're massive, much larger than any human ship. Some of them are the size of small moons." Megan had been expecting this day ever since Captain Lisa Morgan's team discovered the truth about the harvesters. 3 weeks ago, the combined human, elven, and Zephyrian research teams had successfully identified the ancient machine buried in Ilaria's core. When they tried to disable it, something went wrong. Instead of shutting down, the machine had sent out a signal into deep space. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the lead ship," the communications officer announced. "Put it on screen." The main display flickered and showed something that made Megan's blood run cold. The figure on the screen looked like it had once been human, but it was wrong in every way. Its skin was gray and metallic, with glowing red circuits running through it like veins. Its eyes were completely black, and when it spoke, its voice sounded like grinding metal. "I am Harvester Prime," the creature said. "You have interfered with our harvest. You have awakened machines that were meant to sleep. For this, your species will be consumed." "This is Admiral Megan Hayes of Earth Defense Command," Megan replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "We're not looking for a fight, but we won't let you destroy innocent worlds." Innocent? Harvester Prime made a sound that might have been laughter. "All organic life is guilty of the same crime. You exist. You consume. You multiply. You pollute the pure order of the universe with your chaos. We bring order. We bring peace. We bring silence." The transmission ended, and Megan turned to Jane. "How long until they reach Earth?" 6 hours at their current speed. Megan activated the emergency communication system. "This is Admiral Hayes. To all defense fleets. Enemy contact in 6 hours. This is not a drill. All ships report to battle stations immediately." Meanwhile, on Ilaria, Amy Rodriguez was working frantically with Arya Silverleaf and Kira Starweaver in the ancient underground chamber where they had found the harvester machine. The machine itself was huge, filling a cavern the size of a city. It looked like a cross between a computer and a living organism, with metal tendrils that had grown deep into the planet's core. "The weapon specifications are clear," Kira said, pointing to symbols carved into the chamber walls. "But we need pure life energy to power it, more than any one world can provide." "What if we linked multiple worlds together?" Arya suggested. "Elven magic can create connections across space." Amy looked at the ancient writings on the walls. They had been left by a species that fought the harvesters millions of years ago. According to this, the weapon can destroy all harvester machines within a galaxy, but only if it's powered by the willing sacrifice of life energy from many worlds. "Sacrifice?" Kira asked with concern. "Not death," Amy explained quickly. "But every living thing would have to give up part of their life force. It would weaken everyone, but it wouldn't kill them." Arya nodded slowly. "My people would agree to this. We're dying anyway." "And my people have nothing left to lose," Kira added. "But what about humans? You have so much life ahead of you." Amy thought about Earth, now facing the harvester fleet. "Humans don't back down from a fight, especially when we're protecting our friends." In space, above Earth, the first battle between humans and harvesters had begun. The human fleet was badly outnumbered, but they fought with a desperation and creativity that surprised their enemies. Captain Lisa Morgan, now commanding a new ship, called the Defiance, led a group of fighters in a daring attack on a harvester cruiser. "Remember, aim for the glowing sections," Lisa told her pilots over the radio. "Those are their life energy collectors. If we can damage them, maybe we can hurt these things." The human ships were fast and agile compared to the massive harvester vessels, but they were also much smaller. For every harvester ship they damaged, they lost 3 human ships. It was a losing battle, but they kept fighting anyway. Commander Zara Vex arrived with the few Zephyrian ships that were still operational. Her ship, the Void Dancer, had been repaired with human technology and was now stronger than ever. "Captain Morgan, we're here to help," she said as her ships joined the battle. "Good to see you, Commander," Lisa replied. "We need all the help we can get." The Zephyrian ships used hit-and-run tactics, striking fast and then disappearing into the darkness of space. Their advanced technology allowed them to damage the harvester ships in ways that human weapons could not. But even with their help, the combined fleet was still vastly outnumbered. Back on Ilaria, Elder Thalion had arrived at the ancient chamber with dozens of other elven scholars. They formed a circle around the harvester machine and began to chant. In the old language, their voices created a harmony that seemed to make the air itself vibrate with power. "The connection is forming," Arya reported as she monitored the magical energies. "I can feel the link reaching out to other worlds." On the human refugee ships, the Zephyrians led by Kira also began their own ritual. They sang in voices that sounded like wind through crystal caves, adding their power to the growing network of life energy. Amy opened a communication channel to Earth. Admiral Hayes, we need every human to participate in this. Everyone on Earth needs to focus their life energy and will it toward Ilaria. It's the only way the weapon will work. You're asking 4 billion people to trust in alien magic, Megan replied as explosions lit up the space around her station. I'm asking 4 billion people to save the galaxy, Amy corrected. Megan made the hardest decision of her life. She activated the planetary communication system and spoke to every human on Earth and in space. This is Admiral Hayes. We need your help. Focus your thoughts on living, on hope, on the future. Send that energy to our friends on Ilaria. Trust in them as they have trusted in us. Across Earth, in cities and farms, in space stations and ships, humans closed their eyes and focused their will. They thought about their children, their hopes, their love for life itself. That energy flowed across space to Ilaria, where it joined. With elven magic and Zephyrian technology, the ancient weapon began to glow with a light brighter than any star. In space, the Harvester ships suddenly stopped moving as their machines began to shut down. Harvester Prime's voice echoed across all frequencies, filled with something that might have been fear. Impossible. The weapon was destroyed. We made sure it was destroyed. Amy smiled as she watched the weapon charge to full power. You destroyed the machines, but you never destroyed the knowledge, and you never counted on 3 species working together. The weapon fired, sending a wave of pure life energy across the galaxy. Every harvester machine, from the smallest scout to the largest dreadnought, simply stopped working. In space, the massive ships went dark and began to drift helplessly. The silence after the weapon fired was the most beautiful sound Captain Lisa Morgan had ever heard. Around her ship, the massive harvester vessels floated dead in space, their red lights flickering and going dark one by one. For the first time, in hours, no one was shooting at them. All ships, report status, Lisa called out over the communication channel. The replies came in slowly. The human fleet had taken heavy losses. Out of 60 ships that had started the battle, only 23 were still operational. The Zephyrian ships had fared better due to their advanced technology, but they had also lost several vessels. Captain, I'm reading power fluctuations in the nearest harvester ship, reported her science officer. It looks like their main systems are failing, but some backup systems are still active. Lisa nodded grimly. All ships maintain safe distance. We don't know if they're really dead or just sleeping. Back on Ilaria, Amy Rodriguez was helping Elder Thalion and the other elven scholars shut down the ancient weapon safely. The effort of firing it had drained everyone involved. Many of the elves looked decades older than they had just hours before. The weapon worked perfectly, Arya Silverleaf said weakly. She was sitting on the chamber floor, too exhausted to stand. But the cost was higher than we expected. Every living thing in the galaxy gave up years of their life to power it. Amy felt the exhaustion, too. Her hair, which had been dark brown that morning, now had streaks of gray in it. How many years did we lose? For humans, perhaps 5 to 10 years, Elder Thalion replied. For elves, it could be centuries. For Zephyrians, decades. But we are all still alive, and the harvesters are not. Kira Starweaver, who had been monitoring Zephyrian communications, looked up with concern. I'm getting reports from our refugee ships. The weapon's energy pulse did more than shut down harvester machines. It also damaged some of our own technology. Several ships have lost life support. Amy grabbed her communicator. Captain Sullivan, this is Amy. The refugees need immediate help. Kate Sullivan's voice came back tired but determined. Already on it, Amy. We're sending rescue ships to all the damaged vessels. No one is going to die on my watch. The next several days were a blur of rescue operations and damage assessment. The human fleet worked alongside Zephyrian engineers to repair damaged ships and stations. Meanwhile, elven healers used their magic to help treat the wounded from all 3 species. But their relief was short-lived. Amy was studying readings from the disabled harvester ships when she made a terrible discovery. Captain Morgan, we have a problem, she said during an emergency meeting held aboard the Defiance. Representatives from all 3 species were present, either in person or via communication link. What kind of problem? Lisa asked. The harvester ships aren't completely dead. Their main consciousness has been destroyed, but they have backup systems that are slowly coming online. More importantly, I've been analyzing their database. These ships are just one small part of a much larger force. Commander Zaravex leaned forward. How much larger? The main harvester fleet is located in a parallel dimension called the Shadow Realm. What we fought here was just a scouting force. The real army has millions of ships. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. Elder Thalion was the first to speak. Then we have gained nothing but time. Not nothing, said Admiral Megan Hayes via communication from Earth. We've proven that the three species can work together. We've shown that the harvesters can be defeated. And we've learned something important about their technology. Amy nodded. The Admiral is right. I've been studying the Harvester database, and I think I know how to reach the Shadow Realm. But it would require all our ships working together in a coordinated assault. An assault on their home dimension? Kira asked. That sounds incredibly dangerous. It is, Amy admitted. But if we don't destroy the main fleet, they'll just build more ships and come back. Next time, they'll be prepared for our weapon. Lisa stood up and looked around the room at the faces of humans, elves, and Zephyrians. We've already lost so much. Are we really prepared to risk everything on one final battle? Arya Silverleaf, despite her exhaustion, stood up as well. Captain, 3 weeks ago my people were preparing to die with dignity. Instead, we found hope. We found friends. We found a future. I would rather fight for that future than wait for death to find us again. Zara nodded in agreement. The harvesters destroyed my world and scattered my people, but they also brought us to you. If we can stop them from destroying other worlds, then maybe all our suffering will have meant something. Admiral Hayes's voice came over the speaker. Earth Command has reviewed the data. We're authorizing the mission. Every available ship will be assigned to the assault fleet. Over the next week, the combined fleet grew as ships arrived from across human space. Earth sent their newest and most powerful warships. The elves contributed vessels that looked more like living trees than metal ships, powered by magic and crewed by their bravest warriors. The Zephyrians brought their remaining fleet, each ship rebuilt with technology shared between all three species. The final fleet consisted of over 300 ships. It was the largest military force in the history of any of the three species. But Amy's calculations showed that even this might not be enough. The Shadow Realm is heavily defended, she explained during the final briefing. We'll need to punch through their outer defenses, fight our way to the core of their dimension, and destroy the main harvester consciousness before they can activate their full fleet. What are our chances of success? Asked Captain Diana Lee, who would be leading one of the assault groups. Amy hesitated. If everything goes perfectly, about 30%. And if things go wrong? Lisa asked. Then none of us come home. The room was quiet for a moment. Then Lisa smiled. I like those odds. When do we leave? The dimensional portal will be ready. In 6 hours, Kira reported. Once we go through, there's no turning back. The portal will close behind us. As the meeting ended and everyone returned to their ships, Amy found herself standing alone with Lisa on the observation deck of the Defiance. Through the windows, they could see the massive fleet preparing for battle. Are we doing the right thing? Amy asked quietly. Lisa put a hand on her friend's shoulder. 6 months ago, we were just explorers looking for new worlds. Now we're leading a coalition of 3 species against an enemy that has terrorized the galaxy for millions of years. If that's not the right thing to do, I don't know what is. Amy smiled, though tears were forming in her eyes. I'm scared, Lisa. So am I, Lisa admitted. But I'm also proud. Proud of what we've accomplished. Proud of the friends we've made. Proud of what we're about to attempt. As the final preparations were completed, Amy thought about how much had changed since they first received that distress call from Ilaria. They had set out to explore the unknown, and instead they had found something much more valuable. They had found family among the stars. The portal to the Shadow Realm opened like a wound in space itself. Amy Rodriguez, now captain of the joint species vessel Unity, watched as the combined fleet of 300 ships prepared to enter the unknown. The portal was a swirling mass of dark energy that seemed to pull light into it and destroy it. All ships, this is Captain Rodriguez, Amy said over the fleet communication system. Remember, we have one chance at this. Stay in formation, follow the battle plan, and watch out for each other. Today we fight not just for our own species, but for all life in the galaxy. The responses came back in 3 different languages. Human voices saying, understood. Elven voices singing, for life and light. Zephyrian voices whispering, "Until the stars grow cold." The Unity was the first ship through the portal. Amy felt a strange sensation as they passed through, like being turned inside out and put back together again. When the feeling passed, she looked at the main screen and gasped. The Shadow Realm was nothing like normal space. Instead of stars, there were floating islands of dark metal connected by bridges of energy. Massive structures that looked like mechanical cities drifted through a gray mist, and everywhere, as far as the sensors could reach, were harvester ships. How many? Amy asked her tactical officer, Lieutenant Betty Walsh. "I've stopped counting at 10,000, Betty replied, her voice barely steady. "Captain, there are ships here the size of entire planets." The rest of the fleet emerged from the portal. Behind them, and Amy heard gasps and exclamations over the communication channels. Even their most pessimistic estimates had not prepared them for this. "All ships, maintain formation," Amy commanded. "Remember, we're not here to fight all of them. We just need to reach the core and destroy their central consciousness. Commander." Zara Vex's voice came over the radio from her ship, the Void Dancer. "Captain Rodriguez, I'm reading massive energy signatures from the central structure. That has to be our target." The central structure was a sphere the size of Earth's moon, made of the same dark metal as everything else in this dimension. It pulsed with red energy, and Amy could feel its malevolent presence even from this distance. "Fleet commanders, execute attack pattern Delta," Amy ordered. "Elven ships provide magical shields. Zephyrian ships handle electronic warfare. Human ships focus on direct assault." The battle began immediately. Harvester ships swarmed toward them like angry insects, but the combined fleet was ready. Elven magic created barriers of pure light that deflected enemy weapons. Zephyrian technology jammed harvester communications and targeting systems. Human ships punched through the enemy lines with raw firepower and determination. Captain Lisa Morgan, commanding the Defiance, led the spearhead attack toward the central sphere. "Amy, we're opening a path for you, but we can't hold it for long." "Understood, Lisa. Take care of yourself." The Unity raced through the gap in the Harvester defenses, escorted by a small group of the fastest ships from each species. Behind them, the main fleet fought desperately to keep the path open. As they approached the central sphere, Amy could see that it was covered in the same symbols they had found in the ancient chamber on Ilaria. "Kira, are you seeing this?" Kira Starweaver's voice came from the Zephyrian ship flying beside them. "Yes, Captain. These are the same markings. The sphere is not just a ship. It's another one of their weapons. If they activate it, it could drain life from every world in the galaxy at once. Then we destroy it before they get the chance," Amy said firmly. But as they drew closer to the sphere, massive defense platforms emerged from hidden positions. The escort ships engaged them, but the Unity was on its own for the final approach. "Captain, I'm reading massive structural weaknesses in the sphere's north pole," reported Dr. Nina Clark from her science station. "If we can get inside and reach the core, we might be able to overload their entire system." Amy made a decision that would have terrified her 6 months ago. "All power to forward shields. We're going to ram our way inside." The Unity slammed into the sphere's surface and punched through the outer hull. They found themselves flying through corridors that stretched for miles, past chambers filled with strange machinery and walls covered in the bones of extinct species. "The central core is directly ahead," Nina announced. "But, Captain, I'm reading massive energy buildup. They're trying to activate the weapon." Amy pushed the ship's engines to maximum speed. They burst into a vast chamber at the heart of the sphere, and there it was, the Harvester's central consciousness. It looked like a brain made of metal and circuits, surrounded by pillars of flowing energy. "All weapons target the core," Amy ordered. The Unity's weapons fired continuously, joined by the few escort ships that had made it this far, but their attacks seemed to have no effect on the massive consciousness. "It's not working," Betty reported. "Our weapons can't penetrate its defenses." That's when Amy remembered something Aria Silverleaf had told her weeks ago. "Life energy is the one thing they can't defend against. It's too pure, too chaotic for their ordered minds to process." Amy opened a communication channel to the entire fleet. "All ships, all crews. I need you to focus your life energy like we did when we fired the weapon on Ilaria. Send it to the Unity. Send it to me. Across the Shadow Realm, in the middle of the greatest battle in galactic history. Three species stopped fighting for a moment and focused their will on one small ship at the heart of enemy territory. Humans thought about hope and determination. Elves thought about wisdom and sacrifice. Zephyrians thought about survival and rebirth. Amy felt that energy flowing into her, and she directed it at the central consciousness. The metal brain began to glow with an unnatural light, and cracks appeared across its surface. "It's working," Nina shouted. "The consciousness is destabilizing." But the effort was draining Amy rapidly. She could feel years of her life flowing away as she channeled the combined will of thousands of beings. Her hair turned completely gray, and lines appeared on her face. "Captain, you need to stop," Nina said with concern. "This is killing you." "Not yet," Amy replied through gritted teeth. "Almost there." The central consciousness let out a sound like the death cry of a dying star. Cracks spread across its entire surface, and the red light began to fade. All around them, the machinery of the sphere started to shut down. "Amy, the whole place is collapsing," Lisa's voice came over the radio. "You need to get out of there now." Amy barely had enough strength left to pilot the ship, but she managed to guide the Unity out of the crumbling sphere just as it imploded. Around them, harvester ships throughout the Shadow Realm went dark and began to drift. "The central consciousness is destroyed," Kira reported in amazement. "All harvester technology is shutting down permanently." The portal back to normal space reopened, and the surviving ships of the combined fleet limped through it. They had lost nearly half their vessels, but they had won. The harvester threat was ended forever. 3 months later, Amy stood in the gardens of New Silverleaf City on Ilaria. The planet was healing rapidly now that the harvester machine had been destroyed. Trees were growing again, rivers were flowing, and elven children played in meadows that had been barren wasteland just months before. "The Galactic Covenant is official," Arya Silverleaf told her as they walked among the flowers. 3 species, united as equals, working together to explore and protect the galaxy. Amy nodded, though the effort made her feel tired. The final battle had aged her considerably, but she didn't regret it. "What about the Zephyrians? Have they found new homes?" "Yes. Captain Zara has established colonies on 12 different worlds. The humans have been very generous in sharing terraforming technology." They were interrupted by the arrival of a young human woman in a bright blue uniform. "Captain Rodriguez, I'm Lieutenant Carol Banks from the Earth Science Academy. I've been assigned as your new science officer aboard the Unity." Amy smiled. After the battle, she had been promoted to captain of the first fully integrated starship, with crew members from all 3 species. "Welcome aboard, Lieutenant. Are you ready for some real exploration?" "Yes, ma'am. I've been dreaming of this since I was a little girl." As they walked back toward the city, Amy thought about how much had changed since that first distress call. Humanity had set out to explore the stars and find new life. Instead, they had found something much more precious. They had found purpose. They had learned that the universe was full of wonders and dangers, but most importantly, they had learned that no one had to face those dangers alone. In the sky above Ilaria, the Unity waited in orbit, ready for its next mission. Its crew of humans, elves, and Zephyrians were preparing to explore regions of space that no one had ever seen before. And somewhere in the galaxy, other species were sending out their own distress calls, waiting for someone to hear them and offer help. Amy knew that humanity would answer those calls, just as they had answered the call from Ilaria, because that's what humans did. They helped. They protected. They never gave up. And now they had allies who shared those same values. The future was full of possibilities, and for the first time in her life, Amy couldn't wait to see what tomorrow would bring.